everybody. Thank you for being here. So our project is MPG, Musica para la Gente, and it translates to music for the people.
My name is Paulo. I'm currently a junior studying at Ross in this building. I'm a first-generation student. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've always pursued music as a hobby and as a passion. I started playing instruments probably about 10, 12 years ago. And, one of the things that I've realized is coming from Grand Rapids, there's a lot of good work being done out there, but, I kind of had very poor experiences with exploring musical resources, and that comes to cost and time and energy. I've booked studios for $200 an hour and just kind of gotten low quality results that I'm looking for, and it kind of doesn't match up to what I put into it. And so one of the things that I realized is I'm not the only one in my community that has gone through that. And so with this project, what we're doing is kind of exploring musical resources, and now that I have these business skills to kind of apply and give back to this community, that's kind of what I want to do. I finally found a place where I want to combine my business skills with my artistic passions and kind of find a way to give back to the community, just because I think the overall emphasis about this project is that the access to musical resources should not be a privilege regardless of what community you come from.
Yeah, thank you, Paulo. My name is Giancarlo Medrano. I go by G, and I recently transferred to the University of Michigan last semester, and I'm currently studying sound engineering and electrical engineering through SMTD and the College of Engineering. And MPG is a project that I've been thinking about for a while, especially my transition to U of M, where I struggled a lot to create a portfolio so that I could apply. And I had a short time frame where I had to learn how to record, mix, and produce my own music. And this kind of just made me reflect a lot on the way I grew up, where I didn't have a lot of accessible music resources in my neighborhood. And I also come from a low income background, so family. So I just never had the opportunity or the funds to I want to play guitar and I should pick it up. So this is why we've decided to come up with our mission statement, which is to implement musical resources across Michigan Latino communities for creative space, instruments, recording equipment, and mentorship.
That's me, by the way, with the glasses there. That's me and my friends. I just thought I'd incorporate that just so you guys can see how genuine this is. That's me a couple years ago playing instruments. And so now that you've heard a little bit about our stories, we're obviously not the only ones. This is a nationwide issue. We've kind of broken down little statistics for you guys in three main facets, which is kind of highlighting necessity, access, and effect. So kind of looking at the necessity of musical resources. It's been proven that musical training maximizes children's cognitive functioning, language development, and academic skills, especially for youth that come from low socioeconomic status. There's a correlation to scoring higher on exam scores. When it comes to access, right now 8% of U.S. Public schools, K through 12, students don't have access to musical education there in the first place. So that's already a systematic disadvantage that they're in. And then when we look at the effect, one statistic that really stands out to us is how the lack of musical resources decreases the percentage of the population with bachelor degrees or higher. So looking at 93% of non-minorities correlated to that versus 67% of minorities correlate to that in LA County. And I think that's a very important statistic for us just because we're college students and we're actually part of that statistic, and that's something that really means a lot to us because we know that others are going to go through that and are going through that right now.
Yeah, so this kind of brings us back to our project, and that's me playing guitar. So the way that we differentiate ourselves from other similar organizations is by being non-exclusive, but very targeted and catered towards the youth that come from a Latino community, low-income background, and that just don't have access to these musical resources. And
yeah, and as mentioned, non-exclusive, but still focused on them. Also just kind of an individualized commitment. We know that with other programs, there's a lot of binding contracts and maybe sometimes hidden fees and sometimes crazy commitments that maybe people from low income backgrounds can't commit to. And so that's one thing that we would want to do is kind of specialize in making an individualized commitment based on experience or interest and things like that. And there's more to this in the appendix about location and design. Right now we're kind of looking at obviously focusing in Michigan, so looking at Southwest Detroit or Grand Rapids, Michigan. There's more to touch on that in the appendix if you'd like.
And just quickly, I just wanted to mention that also we're also catered towards Spanish-speaking families because a lot of the times these families they don't know about these resources if they are available to them because of the language barrier. So it's also another way we differentiate ourselves from others. And this is kind of just our prolonged vision of how we'd like to carry out our project. We would like to get a physical space for creativity and at the same time provide instruments as loanees, and they can also come there to practice, or if they want to just hang out and just write their own song. And then would like to also incorporate a booth so that they can record their music, and then have edit rooms so that they can mix, edit, and finalize their projects. And within that space, would also like to provide like an internship, like because I'm in the PAT program, so like an internship so that students from my department can come and get some hours and also like do something meaningful for us and for themselves. And then finally, what we'd like to do is also host like workshops for the entire community, such as basic music theory, like parents can come, kids of course, how to take care of your instrument, how to upgrade components of your instrument, because although some instruments are cheap, you can always just upgrade them and they sound really good. And then lastly, like how to collaborate with other musicians, that's a skill. Like I'm still learning that, and I'm in the music program, so.
Yeah, so one thing to touch on too is like kind of looking at long term, we're also kind of thinking about like maybe like the participants can work towards owning an instrument. They start off like trying to learn regardless of experience or interest. Maybe they can work towards like kind of owning their own instrument. Also kind of when it comes to like advanced community, we kind of mean like something like this where like they can have like maybe a final showcase after a year, like what have you been working on throughout the past year, and kind of show that to your peers and community. Even things that don't exist right now that can revolve around music, kind of like a local jam session with each other, or like even like a listening party, like let's see what you've been working on, things like that. And there's obviously also more in the appendix about like a cost breakdown and even like a weekend pilot program that we've been thinking about implementing. So I'll leave it at that, and question and answer time. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for your time.